live, and then I'm going to tweet this link and tag Alpha Dog Bets and Lou Burr. Lou, you should change your username.
You don't like Lou Burr?
I think it should. Aren't you Burek312 or something?
I don't know.
You should be Lou Burr. It's like Joe Burr.
That's my Insta.
That is a cool one.
Yeah, I think you're right. What is it currently?
I think it's Burek312, right? It's very like I'm checking out this thing called Twitter username.
Yeah. Old man energy. It's called X, Alex.
Yeah, come on.
Right. Yeah, maybe I'm the old man.
Stay woke.
Dirty Bubble Bets in the chat already, of course. Absolute legend. Okay, Big Ten football. Big Ten football.
I just tweeted out on myself, too. I'm staring at myself, so there we go.
Alpha Dog Bets. Rutgers superfan Alpha Dog Bets.
Something like that.
Here's my call to action. Rate it. Going live with the great Alpha Dog Bets over at DubClub Win. We are handing out big football winners, so please do not tune in if you dislike USD currency.
There we go. I think that sounds fire.
Compelling?
I already have too many units. I need to leave this. I'm overwhelmed by the units. All right. Let me know if you guys got that.
Post.
I got it.
Expect a big onrush of
that's a huge bump. The Burek bump, they say.
The Luber 312.
All right, boys, we're rolling.
Awesome.
Kick us off, Lou. We got a huge game tonight.
Friday night, under the lights, Autzen Stadium. Jonathan Smith returning to the Pacific Northwest. Michigan State getting 24 points on the road. Alpha, are you touching this game?
I am, but I'm not touching a side on this one. I'm definitely leaning towards one of the totals here.
Go on.
I like the under here. I mean, you take a look at Michigan State, and they're a team that most of their games have gone under this year, and it's not like they've just gone under. They're comfortably going under by at least 6.5 points on average per game. They're 1-4 to the over, so 4-1 to the under. That's hitting at 80%. And then you take a look here at how Oregon's done, and they're sitting at 500 at games going to the over as well. This is a game I think that Oregon can get up big early, but I'm scared to touch anything at a minus 23.5 line. We all know what could happen late in the game where Michigan State starts to get it rolling and they get a couple late scores, which does give them the backdoor cover. But the under, I definitely feel a lot more comfortable about, especially with it being above 50. It's currently sitting at 51.5, and to me, I think that's by far the best angle on this game.
These Friday night games seem to be very competitive. I don't know if it's just a fluke the past few weeks, or it's because Rutgers was on last week and they have problems scoring. Yep. But given that, if that's true, I see the under. I don't see Michigan State sticking around in a shootout. So if it's going to be close, I think the number is going to be low. I like Michigan State getting the points.
That's
against.
the side I was leaning to as well.
I don't think Oregon's played their best ball yet. I got this earlier this week at 24, so I like that. I think Jonathan Smith's a great football coach who hates Oregon. People forget he was at Oregon State for a while. Oregon State alum. So I think this is personal for him.
Absolutely.
Teams with good coaches don't get their ass kicked 2 weeks in a row. They got spanked at home last week. And the 24 is just a lot of points. This is
a lot of points.
Big Ten football.
Absolutely.
I don't think Oregon's going to cover that number. They haven't played their best football. They're not really clicking offensively yet.
Yeah, Michigan State's good on defense, like I said, too, and that would back that up as well. So they're going to probably keep this one close. They're only averaging 19 points a game allowed. So if they can just somewhat keep it relatively low on the defensive end, they'll only need a couple points on the offensive end to cash your side and to cash my under. So let's see a low-scoring Michigan State type of game tonight.
We don't have a long time to wait. Kickoff's in about 5 hours. We got anything from the chat? Spade, you got any action? One of our great Prize Picks cappers. I see you popping off in the chat. Oregon,
go.
Michigan State. Sharp Bros. Speak now or forever hold your peace.
The under's right now where the sharp money is, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the data. I'm checking the data right now. The sharp money is on the under.
Yeah.
Public is 78% on the over.
How much
Which
of your
doesn't make
calc-
sense.
Yeah, I mean, Alpha probably figures in heavily to the sharp money calculations, right?
Yeah, I do look at all that. That definitely, I like to put it this way. I don't make it my give all be all by taking a look at the public betting percentages, but I like to look at it to make sure it aligns with what I'm looking at. So if I like an under and I see a ton of people betting the over, that makes me feel a lot better about my under.
Love it. All right, let's go to Saturday. 11 a.m. UCLA making the trip to Happy Valley. 28-point spread. You touching anything in this one, LJ?
Short and sweet, absolutely not. This is going to be a blowout by Penn State. I don't know how many it's going to end by, but UCLA has been awful. There's no better way to put it. They're 0-2 in conference, 1-3 on the year, going into Penn State, who's 4-0, 1-0 in the conference. Penn State had a massive win over Illinois last week. They did win 21-7 in their whiteout. And then you take a look at UCLA coming in off a thrashing against Oregon, 34-13. They got smoked by LSU, 34-17, and they got smoked by Indiana, 42-13. So they really haven't been competitive. The only game they were competitive in was when they played against Hawaii, which we understand Hawaii isn't really the caliber of team like the other Big Ten teams they will be seeing. So I think Penn State wins this by 1 billion points, but I'm still not comfortable taking anything at a minus 27.5.
That is way too many points. I mean, it's no fun. We haven't gotten a really good, complete Big Ten slate yet this season. Next week's card is beautiful, but as you're looking at, what do we got? We got 7 games and only 3 single-digit spreads. It's not the easiest thing to break down. I'm on your team on this one, Alpha. 28 points. They're all on scholarship. It's hard to get excited about picking a favorite, and
Right.
I will not pick UCLA in anything this year. This is potentially the worst Power 4 team in college football this year.
100% agree with you. It's just one of those things where when it's this big of a line, you could see this being such a blowout early in the game, and then in the latter stages of the game, they have all the backups in, they really take the foot off the gas, and they get a couple late garbage touchdowns that just kill a good read on a game. So it's one of those I definitely would recommend staying away.
This is one, if you can bet walk-on snaps, this is one where you want to get active in that market early. We want to get the benches cleared. I want some Penn State. I know Penn State's got a great walk-on culture. We love walk-ons at DubClub. So if you have access to that market, try to hit the over early on walk-on snaps.
Love that.
All right, let's head west. Madison, Wisconsin. The Badgers are coming off a hard-fought L in the Coliseum against the feared Boilermakers, Purdue. I'm seeing this at 14-point spread for the Badgers. LJ, you got anything in this one?
I leaned the Badgers in this one, but this is another one I'm not going to have any action in. These are 2 mid-tier teams at best, really some low-tier teams in the Big Ten this year. Wisconsin played a great game against USC. They were in it pretty much till midway the fourth quarter, but a couple late turnovers and some late scores made that game look out of hand, but they really were in it for the bulk of the game, and Purdue took a pretty bad beating against Nebraska. That was a low-scoring game for most of it as well, and Nebraska ended up pouring it on late, but Purdue really hasn't shown me anything this year. They lost a really bad game to Oregon State, 38-21, and then when they played Notre Dame, they lost 66-7. The same Notre Dame team that lost to NIU, the same Notre Dame team that has not been able to really beat up on anybody. So for me, I do think this is a Wisconsin play or nothing, but I think it's a pretty sharp line at the 13.5, 14, whatever the books have right now. It's been going back and forth. It's a tough game to get a read on. I think there's another couple games we'll be going over that I absolutely love. This is another one where I just am not in love with the matchup.
Fading Purdue is becoming a system play for me. I'm taking the Badgers in this one. I got this at 14 earlier this week. I would take it up to 17. I mean, Purdue stinks. I think, again, Wisconsin is a well-coached football team. They lost their quarterback in the Bama game. The new guy, they had a bye week, and the new guy looked pretty good. for large pieces of the game last week. They're back at home. Feel like they're just going to beat the brakes off Purdue. I don't see Luke Fickell going like 3-9, which means he's going to get the boys ready to roll this week and beating the brakes off the Boilermakers.
I could definitely see that for sure. I definitely like that angle than any other angle you could try and talk yourself into on the Purdue side.
I mean, part of the issue with college is you get all these big numbers and you talk yourself into betting terrible football teams. So Purdue fits that category. Them and UCLA, I think they're the basement dwellers, along with one other team we'll cover in a second.
Excellent.
All right, let's go to I know that our producer and third leg of the stool here has got opinions on the next one. Columbus, Ohio. The Hawkeyes are heading to the horseshoe for the first time in what feels like forever. You touching anything in this game, Alex?
I am, but it's not a side. And if I were to take a side, I would take Iowa, obviously. The line move, I think it's at 19.5 right now. It opened at, I believe, 21.5.
Yep.
I have a narrative play for you guys. I'm an emotional guy. I like narratives. It's college athletes. These are kids. They get emotional. So I don't know if you're familiar with Iowa, but it's actually tight end university. George Kittle,
actually Stanford,
T.J. Hawkinson
University.
Yeah, nobody says that. And so Luke Lachey is currently the tight end 1 for Iowa. He's an absolute dog, the next great NFL tight end. Luke Lachey's dad played at Ohio State and was one of their greatest offensive linemen of all time, played in the NFL for a long time. He's also currently an announcer for the Buckeyes. They are a Columbus family. He's a lifelong Ohio State fan. He's coming back to Columbus for the first time in his career. He was injured last time they played. So I have Luke Lachey to score a touchdown. It's 5-1 on some books, 4.5-1. If you really want to get spicy, there's another Ohio native on Iowa's offense, Caleb Johnson, who, if it wasn't for Ashton Genty, would be the best running back in the country right now. He's also from Ohio, also grew up an Ohio State fan, also had an offer from Ohio State and chose Iowa over them. If you want to get really spicy, he is plus, I believe, 180 last time I looked, plus 150 to score a touchdown. Take either of them, take them in a parlay. But Luke Lachey is really the one I'm looking at because I think that's a legacy moment for him to score in Columbus. So those are my plays for this game.
Well done, Alex. That's deep research.
Yeah.
LJ, what do you got for us?
So I have an official play on this game. I'm targeting a total here, and everybody sees Iowa. What's the first thing that they expect? This is an under team. They have terrible offense. They can't score. Solid defense. It's a strict under team, right? What if I told you this under team is 4-0 to the over this year? Every single Iowa game has gone over, and they've gone over by an average of 9 points per game. Ohio State, in 4 of their games this year, 3 of them have gone over. So in total, 7 games have gone over for the 2 of these teams to 1 game going under. This total's pretty low, too, at 45.5. I expect that we'll see some good offense on the Ohio State side. And Iowa's been able to produce. I'm hoping we get Alex's bet Lachey to get in the end zone because that'll get me closer to my over. And I definitely think we're going to see a ton of points here. I've seen a lot of people taking the under in this game. And that's not this year's Iowa team. They're putting up points. They're giving up more than average as well. So their games have been at least more entertaining to watch than some of those 3-0 games we've seen in the past. They're scoring. The games have been better. Give me the over. A lot of people are on the under. I think this is one of our easiest cashes of the weekend.
Love it. Iowa, or I just called Alex Iowa. Iowa, what's
I'll take it.
What's in the
I'll
in the corn in Iowa City this year? Why are they putting up so many points?
Tim Lesser, new offensive coordinator, worked under Matt LaFleur in Green Bay last year. Matt LaFleur, NFL genius, maybe one of the best coaches in the league right now. And Tim Lesser uses tight end motions a lot. He uses a lot of modern offense and combines that with big football, a lot of 12 personnel. So they've changed everything up, and Caleb Johnson is one of the best running backs in the country, so that helps. But unfortunately, it would be a lot better if Cade McNamara could throw a pass, but maybe he'll get there. We'll see.
You know what I'm seeing a lot of, too? We're seeing a lot of data and a lot of analytics that teams that are doing pre-snap motion are having the higher success rate than teams that are not. The top 5 teams in the country have the top 5 pre-snap motion plays in the country right now. So we're seeing teams that do that. So the new offensive coordinator for Iowa implementing a lot of pre-snap movement, that's really helping this team. They're able to find where they could run the ball better. Like you said, we know McNamara hasn't exactly been slinging the ball all over the field, which you are going to expect with an Iowa team team, but the pre-snap motion's helping them figure out if they're in zone, if they're in man, and if they're able to get some shorter plays and get more first downs than they've been doing in the past.
God, he knows ball.
A little bit.
This is the first real test for Chip Kelly offense. I mean, they beat the brakes off Michigan State last week, but I think Iowa's probably in a slightly different tier.
I would agree,
the
1,000%.
Do you think these guys are ready for their first real test defensively in the scarlet and gray?
I think so. I mean, I think that they'll be up for this game, but I do think there will be points. Like I said, it's not as scary as an Ohio State team in the past. I know that they're ranked third in the country, but with Will Howard behind quarterback, he's been okay. The receivers have been okay. Their offense has been okay, but they're not really a team that is as dangerous, at least that I feel, as they've been in the past. So I think teams have more confidence going up against Ohio State than they have in the past.
Yeah, I still don't have a read on this team at all. I'm not touching this game for that reason. Iowa, they're always solid. Ohio State, they could be really good this year. They could be kind of mid. The skill positions, they're loaded. But I think the question with them over the past few years is, can they win the trenches? Iowa's solid, but not spectacular up front. We'll see how. This is kind of a show-me game. The Buckeyes have a big win in Autzen next week. I'm not touching it. All right, let's go to the North Shore of the Chicagoland area. Don't look now. The 5-0 Indiana Hoosiers are ranked and looking to get bowl eligible in as many weeks or as few weeks possible. Alpha, you got anything for us? Indiana coming to Evanston?
I think this is another overplay. I mean, you take a look at how Indiana has done this year. Their offense has been absolutely fantastic. Last week against Maryland, they scored 42 points. The game before that, they scored 52 points. The game before that, they've scored 42 points. The game before that, they scored 77 points. And then they played FIU, where they scored 31 as well. So their lowest scoring game of the year has been 31 points. Northwestern, to me, is not a great team. I hate to break it to you. I know you're a Chicago guy, but I don't think this is going to be a great team all season long. Their only wins on the year have been against Miami of Ohio and Eastern Illinois, so they really haven't beat anybody when they played Washington, which is a good kind of test to see how teams are doing, because I do feel that Washington is just over the halfway line of talent and kind of skill in the Big Ten. So if you're able to compete against Washington, you're probably around mid-tier. They lost 24-5 in one of the grossest games I've seen all season. But Indiana has been fantastic, and their offense has been extremely hard to stop. I think they'll be able to score at least 28 points in this game. If they get to 28 points, we only need 2 touchdowns out of Northwestern. That will get us over this extremely low total of 41.5. So I absolutely love the over here. One more thing, though. I absolutely hope Indiana gets smacked in this game. They stole a top 25 berth from the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Rutgers deserved to be in the top 25 after wins against Washington and Virginia Tech. So not a huge Indiana fan right now, but I got to admit they have been pretty exciting to watch, and they've been a very good team early on.
What's going on with the polls? Why is Rutgers not getting the respect they deserve?
Because they're Rutgers. Rutgers has the longest stretch out of any Power 5 team without beating a top 25. I believe it's 15 years in a row that Rutgers has lost every single game to every single top 25 opponent they've played. So it's going to take a little while for Graciano's boys to get some national respect, but they are getting some respect. They did get some votes this week. It looks like they got 9 in the AP. So 9 smart voters out there putting the Scarlet Knights in the top 25. Hopefully they get a big win this week over Nebraska. And if they do that, there is no way you can keep them out of the top 25.
We can't hold LJ back from talking about Rutgers any longer, so let's go there. I have Indiana laying the points against Northwestern. Northwestern's terrible. Indiana's very good. Indiana's very good defensively as well. Northwestern may not score a point in this football game. Indiana's loaded up front. Northwestern's a dumpster fire. If they get beat that total, LJ, they may have to do all the work themselves because the Wildcats are terrible.
Which they could, though. They could.
I wouldn't be shocked at all.
4 out of their 5 games, they've scored over the total for the whole game themselves. So I think that's built into the total that they expect them to be pretty high in scoring.
All right, here's the game of the week. Lincoln, Nebraska. Shiano's boys headed out west to take on Raiola and a very feisty Cornhusker squad I'm seeing the number anywhere between 6.5 and 7, maybe 7.5. Do you have a play in the game? I haven't looked at the total. You came prepared with the totals. I did not. Educate us, Rutgers football correspondent for all of DubClub.
So first of all, this game is going to be windy, and not your normal windy. It's going to be windy, where it's going to be very difficult to move the ball through the air. So I think that benefits Rutgers in a big way, as they're a heavily utilized running team. And you take a look at how this Nebraska team lost their only loss against Illinois. We saw that Illinois defense turn up with a ton of blitz schemes all game long. And while Raiola was being pressured, he made a lot of mistakes that we haven't seen against lesser opponents, against teams that do not have great defenses, that were not able to get pressure against him. Rutgers is not that kind of team. Schiano's teams are always built on defense, special teams, and running the ball. So in a very windy game that's going to be a defensive grind, I do think Rutgers is going to be able to get the cover here. They have one of the best running backs in the nation, Kyle Monangai. He has 600 yards on the year with 6 touchdowns. And Ethan Kaliakmanis, the transfer quarterback from Minnesota, has done a great job leading this offense. He has 7 touchdowns through the air this year to only 1 interception. He's done a great job transitioning to this team from Minnesota, like I said. And I expect this Rutgers defense to be all over the Nebraska backfield from the start in this game. We had the blueprint shown to us from Illinois, like I said, and Rutgers defense is returning 10 of 11 starters from last year. They're all experienced, guys that have all played with each other, and they have very minimal injuries on the defensive side right now. So I do think Rutgers goes into Lincoln, plays a good game, and covers the spread. I am afraid they might lose late in this one. Rutgers has not defeated Nebraska in the history of the Rutgers football program, so it's a tough task when you've never defeated this team. But if there was any Rutgers team over the last 20 years that had a shot, it's this team. And guys, if Rutgers wins this game, they have a legitimate chance to have one of the greatest seasons that this school has ever had. After this game, the Rutgers only has 2 real opponents left on the schedule, which would be at USC. I don't think they're going to win that game. If they do, that would be unbelievable, but it's a Friday night, 11 p.m. Eastern game. That's a little tough for an East Coast team to do. And at the end of the season, they play Illinois. The rest of their games, they will be favored and should win. So let's say Rutgers drops one of those last 2 games. If they're able to beat this Nebraska team, they could end this season as a 1-loss Big Ten program. That would be fantastic.
Playoff team. That's a playoff team right there.
They could be. But it starts with this one. They cannot lose this game against Nebraska and still have playoff aspirations.
What a breakdown. I think that's the leading Rutgers-Nebraska breakdown on the internet this week. As you were chatting, you mentioned Kaliakmanis, who's been in the Big Ten for about 12 years now. I had in my brain, oh, man, I feel like Nebraska always loses to Minnesota. Looked up Wikipedia. Sure enough, Kaliakmanis never lost to the Huskers. Home or away. The dude's undefeated at the Huskers. That's a sneaky good little rivalry between the Gophers and the Huskers. So I bet he's a little bit more up for this game than usual. I think your analysis is spot on. I think this Rutgers team reminds me a lot of Illinois. Very senior team, very well-coached team, run the football, play good defense, quarterback that's experienced and savvy and gets the ball out of his hand on time. I think this one's going to be close. I don't know if Rutgers is going to win, but I don't see this getting outside of a score. So if you can buy the point and get to 7, that feels comfy, or 7.5. But this is definitely going to be a one-possession game, if not a sneaky win for Rutgers. I wouldn't be shocked if Schiano's got the boys frickin' on, smelling salts and running through walls in Lincoln. That's an electric atmosphere, one that the Scarlet Knights are not always used to playing at.
Yeah, hopefully they could use that energy, play a good defensive game with their leadership, and get a freaking win down in Lincoln. That would be awesome.
All right, number 1 Nebraska hater on the internet. What do you got for us, Alex? Are you touching any spots in this game? Anyone whose dad used to be the offensive lineman for Nebraska or something like that?
No, but I'm taking Rutgers, obviously. As a hate play, for a hate watch, for more juice, I think Rutgers has about as much momentum as any team in the country right now. And if I'm riding with anybody, it's going to be Alpha Dog. So
Let's get it.
Speaking of riding with Alpha Dog, his free trial is underneath this stream. Go sign up for his DubClub for his whole card this weekend. All of his plays. There's a 3-day free trial. Go sign up for his DubClub and see what he's on, because the man is sharp as hell. And if Rutgers has this kind of energy, Alpha has this kind of energy. So I think they are a tandem. So go tell
This
Alpha.
man is dialed right
Appreciate
now.
that.
How smart is Alpha Dog Sports? Subscribe if you like money.
Appreciate that.
Okay, here's my question for you, Shiano Jr. If Rutgers wins this football game, they're 5-0. Let's say Wisconsin does their job. Okay, they're a bad 3-2 team. Are the bigwigs at ESPN or Fox giving them what they deserve in College Game Day? Or are they going back to one of these Autzen or the actually good games in week 7?
Rutgers deserves it, and we heard on the Pat McAfee show this week. He said there are 6 schools that they have never been to. Rutgers is one of those 6 schools for College Game Day.
This is the first one in Berkeley this year. Berkeley, and I feel like Rutgers has got more buzz than Cal Bears.
We could, and he said on the show, if they keep winning, we will be there for the Wisconsin game. So we're kind of alluding to what you're saying. It may be the Wisconsin game where we get College Game Day in New Jersey. If that happens, I will be there, excited as hell that they came, and I think they deserve it. If there's any year that this team has deserved the national spotlight, it's this year. Veteran leadership, a lot of NFL caliber players, and the weakest schedule Rutgers has ever had. There's no Ohio State, no Penn State, no Michigan, no Oregon. All the big boys in the Big Ten, somehow Rutgers avoided this year. So this is the shot that they have to make some noise.
Okay, if they don't get it, I mean, the issue with game day is next week's slate is absurd. Ohio State, Oregon, Texas, Oklahoma, Penn State, Southern Cal. We got Ole Miss, LSU. But if Rutgers does their job and game day does not go to Piscataway, Pat McAfee has agreed to come on this show next Friday just to be a guest picker.
We love that.
Breaking.
We love that.
Here's a question for you. Is it Piscataway or New Brunswick? Because I want to say Piscataway, but when you look it up on the internet, it says New Brunswick. What's the story
it's
there?
Piscataway.
So what is New Brunswick?
It's a town that they're basically sharing a border. So Piscataway and New Brunswick are right next to each other, and the stadium where Rutgers plays is a little bit away from campus. It's a good hike from campus. So where the stadium is, that might technically be New Brunswick, but where the campus is in Piscataway.
Okay, you heard it here first. Last question for you on Rutgers, Alpha. I promise we'll continue down the slate. Is it true that you were actually on the horse in the full night outfit last Friday night leading the troops out of the tunnel?
Absolutely, I was there. Well, to be honest, I was on the field. I was on the sideline. I was not on the horse, though. They did allow me to stand on the sideline to watch the game, but they did not allow me to ride the horse. I've been pleading with the university. Hopefully, within the next couple weeks, I will be the one leading the boys out.
Let us know what we need to do to get the attention that this cause deserves. The pregame looked insane. I mean,
awesome.
It's a football school.
Don't discredit the basketball team now. You know, they do have the second top recruit in the nation and the third top recruit in the nation coming this year. So Rutgers as a basketball school still takes the crown for me. But hey, a couple more wins, I'm willing to say we may be a football school.
Love it. All right, we got 2 more games to get through. Let's head out west. National Championship rematch. Michigan Wolverines heading to the Pacific Northwest. Washington, I'm seeing this at 2.5-point favorite for the Huskies.
Yep.
LJ, what do we like in this game?
Give me the Huskies on the money line. Michigan is only still ranked in the top 10 because their name is Michigan. This team has not been good all year long. They barely beat Minnesota last week, 27-24. They barely beat USC, 27-24. They got blown out by Texas, and their other wins are 10-point wins over Arkansas State, and they beat Fresno State, who's absolutely a bottom 3 program in all Division I. So they've showed me absolutely nothing. You also take a look at how they've done on the expected line against the spread. Michigan's 1-4 ATS, but not only are they only covering at 20%, they're missing the cover by a full 5.5 points per game. That is a terrible number to be missing the cover by. Well, Washington is returning home after a tough loss at Rutgers, which, yet again, I very much enjoyed that tough loss at Rutgers. But at home, I do think Washington will be the much better team here. They should be able to get this victory. They'll keep the ball on the ground. They do a great job at keeping it on the ground. And they're also a pretty solid run defense. They are one of the better run-stopping teams in the Big Ten right now. They showed it against Rutgers. They really limited Monungai to a big game. So if they're able to stop this Michigan rushing attack and make Michigan try and air the ball out, it's going to be a really bad night for Michigan. I think this is going to be a very low-scoring game. I'm also on the under 41.5. So I have 2 official plays on this game. We're taking Washington on the money line, -125, as well as under 41.5. Think we're going to see a 17-14, maybe a 21-17 type of game that stays pretty comfortably under the total.
This is Washington. They're officially a member of the Big Ten. We got games in October and totals in the low 40s. I mean, they're very good defensively as well.
Yep.
People forget Stevie Belichick is the DC there. He's got the boys playing terrific defensive team football, a lot of different schemes. I mean, Michigan offensively is atrocious. The run game is terrific, but they cannot do a forward pass successfully. So it's hard to bet them. I bet them last week. It looked great, and then the wheels fell off in the second half. I'm not touching this game. Michigan is banned for me after that pathetic showing in the second half. Washington is a weird team. I don't have a good read on them. I don't like betting them. If I was going to touch anything, I would touch the under, 41.5. Like I said, Washington is very good defensively. Michigan is loaded, at least their front 11. They don't have the depth like they had last year. But I'm avoiding this one.
You want to hear a crazy stat about this game that I don't think most people would?
Educate us.
Washington is currently ranked tied for third in the Big Ten at 12.2 points allowed per game. They're only behind Ohio State and Penn State. And Michigan is coming in tied for fifth to last at giving up 21.4 points per game. So Michigan's defense has been absolutely atrocious. They're at the bottom of the conference. They are sitting with Michigan State, Maryland, Wisconsin, UCLA, and Purdue. Those are the only teams that allow over 20 points per game. Put Michigan in that list. Somehow, they're still top 10 in the country.
Yeah, I mean they've played a very tough schedule. Like Texas is very good offensively. Southern Cal's very good offensively. Southern Cal's very good.
They're good offensively, yeah.
I mean they got a lot of NFL guys on that defense for sure. I think the thing that's different last year when they're like rotating D linemen every 2 plays, like one monster after the next. They're asking the 2 big guys in the middle to play a lot of snaps, which is tough. And the offense is just there's a lot of 3 and outs. You're asking the defense to play a lot of snaps. That formula doesn't really work when you're not, chewing a ton of clock and having long drives. But what do you got for us, Alex? You're a PN Dub guy. Give us a play.
I mean, Washington, I did not think would be Big Ten ready, but from the stat you just said, Alpha, they're as Big Ten as it gets. That's crazy, but
they're one of the Iowas.
Yeah, one of the Iowas.
Michigan's one of the Iowas as well this year.
Yeah, Michigan is. Yeah, they can't throw the ball. It's embarrassing. I know Portnoy put a bounty out. He said he'll give $5 million for a quarterback or something next year. Yeah. Orgy sucks. Edwards so overrated. Can't believe he was on the cover of College Football 25. Just an absolute miss by EA. Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be a close game. I don't see how this game gets out of hand. The fact that Michigan only beat Minnesota by 3 points is embarrassing, and they should be ashamed of themselves because PJ Fleck and Minnesota are – I don't know how they string together wins, but they're an embarrassment of a program. So, yeah, if I take anything on this, it'll probably be Washington. I think they'll keep it relatively close.
Do you think Sharon Moore's the guy?
Great question.
No.
I was very high. Okay. I was very high on Michigan coming into the season. I was getting, post Harbaugh transition to David Shaw vibes, right? Where he turned the program around, he got the thing running, hand over the keys to a first-time head ball coach, offensively very competent, build a very competent staff around them. So I was like, okay, people are selling Michigan more than they should be. We've seen this play out before, and it's worked. I just think the Big Ten's a tough conference. Like, there's a lot of good teams, whereas the Pac-12, when Shaw was there, during their glory years when I was there, coincidence, it was not as tough of a conference where you could, kind of ride that juju and momentum and kind of have a great strength program and win the conference a lot of times. I think Michigan, it's just a tougher conference. It's more competitive. I don't think that formula is going to work here. I'm not writing him off already, 5 games into his tenure, but they got to figure out how to complete a forward pass. He's an offensively minded coach. What do you got for us, LJ? I know you got a take sitting there holstered.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like you're watching a parochial game, or a service academy game. You feel like you're just watching Army-Navy when you watch Michigan try and play football right now. They're just coming out, running it 90 times a game, and it's just terrible to watch, truthfully.
I think they had probably the first 2-minute drill that I've ever seen where they almost exclusively ran the ball.
Yeah.
Against USC. That was insane. I've never seen anything like that where they just refuse to throw it in a 2-minute drill and the clock is running. I mean, it worked, but that just shouldn't happen.
I think it's perfectly explained by the statistics of the passing offense of Michigan. They have 2 passing touchdowns this year. They have 7 interceptions.
Wow.
I mean, how are you going to top 10? That's a top 10 program in the country right now. I know they've played a couple decent schools. Texas, great school. Outside Texas, I mean, come on. You should have beat those teams, every single one you played, by a minimum of 21 points. You beat Minnesota by 3. You beat Arkansas State by 10. You let Arkansas State score 18 points against you. You let Fresno State hang in the game for the first half. They're just not the same team without Harbaugh. They really are not.
And I think we're over. I don't know. We're putting too much on USC as well because USC beat LSU in that first game. So we're all like, oh, USC, they're for real. But LSU is not good. So now we're looking at USC as a game for Michigan that everybody's talking and giving a lot of hype to. It's like they should have won that game. USC is not that good.
Could not agree more.
All right, let's go there right now. We're headed to the Twin Cities for the last game of the Week 6 Big Ten card. USC headed to Minneapolis. They feel pretty good about escaping their first Big Ten home game with a W. The Gophers lose a heartbreaker in Ann Arbor and head home for their Big Ten home opener. I'm seeing the spread at, I think it opened at 8.5 right now. USC laying. Alpha, what do you got for me on this game?
I have to take the dog with the points. I am all over the plus 8.5 in this matchup. Alex, you said perfectly. It was a great way to transition into this game. I'm not a USC believer, and I'm a big believer that it's going to take a lot of time for these schools to get acclimated to the Big Ten style of play. When USC is going to line up against a team like Iowa, and they see 8 tight ends of 6'5", 300 pounds blocking, they're not going to know what to do. It's a much smaller team than what you had to deal with in the Pac-12. I just don't think the level of competition, and maybe more than the level of competition, maybe more of the level of physicality is just not going to be at the same level that they're used to, and I think that they will struggle. We're seeing UCLA get bodied over and over and over, and I do think that USC has some of those qualities where they're a little bit smaller. They are an undersized team, and they're mostly built on offense, so I do think when they play some of these nitty-gritty teams like a Minnesota, it's going to be tough for them to get the cover. I do think they'll win the game. I don't think that will be an issue, but 8.5 points, and Minnesota's coming into this game covering 75% of their games this season. How can you not take them with the points here?
This is also a look-ahead spot for the Trojans. They got a big one next week at home against Penn State. That could be a college game day kind of, atmosphere. I think you're spot on, Alpha, as you have been all day. Click link below to subscribe. 3-day free trial. Minnesota's another Iowa. It's like the same frickin' Big Ten West brand of football. This is the third kind of meat grinder game in a row for SC. They're getting on a long plane ride. They're leaving sunny Southern California. I think Minnesota's going to be very up for this game. Getting the frickin' Trojan, battle, dun 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 dun. Like that fires the guys up. I think if the stadium's not packed for this one, 71 degrees at kickoff, it's not going to be packed all year for the Gophers. So again, I don't know if they win this game, but I'll take the 8.5 points. I love betting home dogs. I like that play a lot.
One point I wanted to add that I didn't get to jump into. One thing I love to look at is common opponents. So both of these teams played at Michigan this year. They both finished 27-24 loss. So they played basically the exact same caliber of a game at the same level of opponent, and we saw a 27-24 result. So if you're telling me that these two teams are basically equal, they're playing very similar, and they have similar kind of records on the year. I know that Minnesota has 1 or 2 more losses, but they haven't played USC hasn't played the caliber of teams that Minnesota's played. Minnesota also has an Iowa on their schedule. So I do think that this one will stay as an even type of game, and we see that with the common opponent, both playing 27-24.
PJ Fleck also gives me vibes that he cares more about beating SC than he would other opponents. He's got like the hardo Midwestern, we're going to show those, surfer bros how we play football energy. So I think he's going to have the boys up. They got jobbed last week in Ann Arbor. They should have had the ball with 2 minutes left with a chance to win that football game. So they're going to be, vengeance storyline is there. I like the Gophers. They may win this one outright. They looked very good offensively in the second half last week, and I'm taking the points. Sheer, what do you got for us, Big Ten West hater of all teams non-Iowa? I'm sure you've got some spicy takes for us.
Well, I mean, Iowa just ran all over them. I mean, Minnesota didn't look bad. In the first half, they actually looked really good against Iowa. I was getting nervous, but then Caleb Johnson did Caleb Johnson stuff and put him in the dirt. But one thing we haven't mentioned, rain in the forecast. So I love the dog when there's rain at home. It's a night game. That feels like it's going to be dirty, scrappy. That's a PJ Fleck game. As much as I hate him, that is one of those opportunities. And honestly, I'm kind of looking at the under. It's 49.5 for the total right now, and it's supposed to be rainy. And I think Minnesota doesn't want to play the pass game against USC. They want to slow it down and hold on to the ball. So if I take anything there, it's going to be Minnesota and the under.
At a certain point, their quarterback, what is Miller Moss? He's going to tap out. I mean, every time he goes out there on Saturday, he is getting pummeled. I have no statistics to back this up, but it feels like nobody takes more helmets to the frickin' sternum than this guy. And I think it's going to be more of the same. Minnesota's always good up front, and they're good defensively this year. So we'll see how things shake up.
Absolutely.
In the Twin Cities. All right, any other bonus plays? We just worked through a full card. I feel a lot smarter. I feel like I want to subscribe to Alpha Dog Sports because that guy's a freaking sharp as a tack. Any other bonus plays? The Yankees. ALDS?
We're here.
The MLB action?
Starting tomorrow, we have a ton of action. One thing I do love, we did just get reports out of the Mets camp. So if I'm telling you this, as a Yankee fan, I really have to believe in it because I can't stand the Mets. Kodai Senga's coming back. He is their best pitcher. He has been out since, I believe, June. He made one start this year, and he got hurt in his only start. I do like the Mets tomorrow in Game 1 against the Phillies. It's been a very long time off for this Phillies team, and you can currently get the Mets at a plus 150. I think the wrong team... Well, the right team is favored, but I think the Mets are the advantage here. This Mets lineup has seen Zach Wheeler a ton in the last couple years. He was even on the team a few years ago, so they have seen him a ton. And this Mets offense, it just feels like this Mets team, it's their year. We all saw last night the Pete Alonso 3-run shot in the 9th inning. We've seen them come back, I believe it was on Monday, against the Braves in one of the best baseball games I've ever seen. The Mets just have that it factor right now, and it feels like they can go on a deep run. Game 1, Kodai Senga on the bump. Give me the Mets plus 150. I also do not like the Yankees in Game 1. It is a horrible price, giving the Yankees at a minus 205 with Garrett Cole. The Yankees are not going to have Anthony Rizzo, who has been the best hitter, against starter Michael Wacha for the Royals. It has not been announced yet, but it is looking like he will be left off the roster for this series. I'm not touching the Yankees in Game 1. I would touch them in Games 2 and 3 when the line will probably be a little bit closer, but at a minus 205, there's just no value in that Yankees game.
I feel like taking favorites in the postseason is just asking for trouble. I mean, anything can happen. Betting baseball is always punishing, but October in particular, taking faves is just tough because it's so unpredictable. There's so many bullpen changes. The lineups get refactored 5 different times during the game. I will say this about the Yankees. I don't think they've ever had a clearer path to October. I mean, the Tigers are red hot. I wouldn't want to play them. Kansas City's got a talent, but they also serve I'm going to lose to the Yankees in the ALDS energy like no other franchise. So are you feeling optimistic that this is the year they put it all together and make a deep October run?
I think the Yankees make the World Series. I think they lose in the World Series. I think whoever comes out of the West or the NL is going to win it. Right now, the Yankees are the betting favorite to win the World Series. That should tell you how bad the AL is.
Look at that smirk on your face.
It's not a reflection of how good the Yankees are, though. It's just not. It's just how bad the AL is. You're completely right. There's such a clear path for the Yankees to make this World Series. They have to beat up on the Royals, who are, let's be real, they're the Kansas City Bobby Witts. He does everything for that team. They have Salvador Perez. He's the veteran. He's the guy they're going to lean on, who's been there before. He has won it all. But outside these two guys, their pitching's not great. They have no playoff experience. They should not compete with the Yankees after the first couple games. They may get Game 1, like I said, but after that, I think the Yankees roll. Then you look at a team, either the Guardians or the Tigers. The Guardians outperformed all year. They were fantastic, but I don't think either of those teams can really compete with the Yankees over the course of a full series. We should be in the World Series. I will be there. It's going to be awesome. But I don't know if the Yankees have the talent or the pitching to beat a team like the Phillies. I think the Phillies are the team who will win it all this year.
And they're running into the team of destiny in the first round. I mean, that is the punishing part about this new format.
Exactly.
Where you're sitting at home for a week, you let the opponent get really hot. It's just tough. Obviously, they burn through a lot of pitches, so we'll see what happens. Should be a very interesting series. Starting tomorrow.
Yeah, all of them tomorrow. Baseball is fully in playoff swing tomorrow.
All right, we got anything from the chat? Chat's been awful quiet. Any Q&A from the chat? Sham God.
Mostly takes. Takes. Yeah, shout out Sham God in the chat right now. Jason says, go Big Red. I think all three of us can agree. Who cares? Line Movers LLC in the chat. Shout out JD. Moneyball Metrics, shout out. Rally Duty, is IU a football school? People are talking.
Yeah.
Might be. It might be. Addison Jacoby of DubClub says, Hoosiers by 21 plus should feel like a home game. Probably will, actually.
Yeah.
Probably will be
I
a
will
home
be
game
there.
for Indiana.
I will be there.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Lou, you got any other locks for this weekend, though? Anything else outside of the Big Ten? You got to have the one. I mean,
Is
there's
there
a
football
pretty
outside of the Big Ten?
There's a
Stanford
pretty
money line.
important game in Chicago. Pretty important game this weekend in Chicago for the Bears.
Bears.
It's a must win.
Yeah. 4.5's a lot of points in the NFL, in the National Football League. I don't believe in the Bears at all. I think they're very, very flawed offensively. I think they made big strides last week, but I'm not a believer. 4.5's a lot of points. With that being said, this feels like the kind of team that will end up being 4-2 after 6 weeks and sucker you into thinking they're okay, and then find a way to not make the playoffs and make it as painful as possible. So I'm keeping my hopes very low, but I do think they will probably win on Sunday. They probably won't cover because I'll bet on them and win by a field goal. I mean, Carolina all of a sudden with the red rifle under center, they can do some things offensively. So I don't know. It's a hard game to bet.
It's the toilet
DJ
bowl.
Moore props. DJ Moore props.
No, that's my conspiracy theory of the week. DJ Moore does not like Caleb Williams. His whole vibe and body language the past few weeks has been very off. A lot of these sports books, you can't bet unders on player props, which is totally communist.
Yep.
But if I find an under DJ Moore catches line, I'm going to hammer it. Keenan Allen will have another week back from injury, so I would think more targets are going to go his way. Cole Kmet is quickly becoming a favorite of Caleb. If the Bears are smart, they will continue to run the ball more and pass the ball less. So, yeah, I would take under more receptions if you can find it in this communist society we live in.
Alex, I have a question for you. If you were starting an NFL franchise today, would you rather your quarterback be Justin Fields or Caleb Williams?
At the ages that they are right now?
Yes, exactly where they are. Realistic comparison.
Caleb Williams. We have a little recency bias with Justin Fields. He's looked amazing. He's awesome. I think he's got a lot of love in that locker room, which is part of the reason I think DJ Moore has some of that body language. Because remember last year, they're like, we don't need a new guy. He is the guy about Justin Fields. But Caleb Williams is generational. He just threw for 2 touchdowns. He's finally, broken the seal. Right, he had 2 last week, I believe.
I believe he had 2 as
believe
well.
you. I won't fact check you.
Yeah, please don't. I'm taking Caleb Williams, of course. What about you, Alpha? You have a take on this? I feel like you're
absolutely
asking the question.
Absolutely.
That was a self tee up right there. That was really well done.
I mean, guys, come on. Caleb Williams has 3 touchdowns to 4 picks. I know he's a rookie, but the amount of pressure that was put on him, I mean, the entire offseason, when's he going to get his gold jacket? When's the Hall of Fame jacket coming? He wanted ownership in the team that drafted him. Let's pump the brakes. Let's throw more touchdowns than interception before you demand equity in the team that drafts you. You know what I'm saying? Maybe the guy in Pittsburgh wasn't too bad.
So you would take Justin Fields. Is that what I'm hearing? Or is this just an old man yelling at cloud?
I would 100% take Justin Fields. I think he's a solid quarterback.
I think this is your classic story of 2 franchises. And I'll get on my soapbox any day of the week, anyone who wants to get educated on this. the good, I'm not even going to say great, the good NFL franchises that are in the mix in December every year, the quarterback is the last piece of the puzzle. Detroit, Pittsburgh,
San
Francisco, Philly, even Kansas City, Green Bay. It's like you build the roster from the O-line and D-line up, and then the quarterback is the last piece of the puzzle. There's literally no exceptions to that rule. The Bears, the Panthers, the Jets, I'm sorry. Like the Giants, I'm sorry, in the, post-Eli era, they have this expectation that you can throw a quarterback on a shitty roster and turn a bad team into a good team. And it's just not how it works in pro football. The guys are freaks. You can't have a quarterback turn a bad roster into a playoff team. The Bears have not figured that out yet. They continue to prioritize the guy under center and the skill position players outside of the O-line. And they're going to be bad until they reprioritize it. So I have some slides on this that we can present in another forum. But that's my quick and dirty on the matter.
One rebuttal to that. Only one.
Please. Yeah, who is the exception to the rule?
Jaden Daniels.
Their offensive line isn't bad, though. Their offensive line is not bad.
Their defense is not good. They have a couple offensive line pieces, but they don't have any of the receiving weapons that a lot of the other guys have. It's all been Jaden Daniels. He's been a freak. And arguably C.J. Stroud last year, but they had a pretty complete team, I think, the Texans. So I wouldn't put Stroud in that mix. But Jaden Daniels, what he's doing is absolutely incredible.
So let's talk about those very quickly. The Commanders.
Mm-hmm.
The approach they took is they were going to build the entire offensive philosophy around them. Like bring in an OC to do that style of offense. And the Texans, in tandem, stack their D-line with, all the bevy of picks they had. So I think the Bears are caught in the middle, right? They didn't move the head coach. They have a defensive head coach. They have an offensive coordinator who nobody likes.
Worse in the league.
I knew Alex was going to take the bait on that one. But they're stuck in no man's land, right? Where they're giving him enough tools to where they can't do the Jay Fields treatment where it's like, oh, he's got nothing, but not like the complete suite that you need to actually be successful. So I think it's going to be a dumpster fire. They're not going to make the playoffs. Flus is going to get canned. It's going to be total regime change. And we're going to be wondering why the fuck we didn't give Harbaugh the full court press, why we didn't give Cliff Kingsbury the full court press, because both of those would be, alternative paths where Harbaugh would rebuild everything the right way. Cliff could tailor the offense specifically to Caleb. We're just we're out in the cold, in the rain.
Got to get rid of Flus. He is by far, in my opinion, the worst coach in the NFL. He's pretty bad.
So Flus did this amazing thing in the offseason where he grew a beard. And he got a sick haircut. And by those two moves got him at least, I would say, 18 more months of a sick salary and a sick job. So let this be a message to all you listeners at home. If ever you feel like performance is kind of down on the job, you feel the walls are closing in, go to the barber. Glow up a little. Try a new fade. People may forget that you're not very good at your job if you are aesthetically a little bit easier to look at.
Maybe Ryan Poles should do a better job of evaluating his coaching talent, but I digress. What are you
going to do? All right, anything else from the chat? This was a blast. I could do this for literally 10 hours with the great Alpha Dog Bets and Alex Shear. Alpha, 3-day free trial. Link is in the comments. This guy is literally encyclopedic knowledge of Big Ten football, MLB, you name it, NFL. Make sure you tap in there. Subscribe to my DubClub. I'm giving out 5 Big Ten picks per week against the spread. I haven't gone 5-0 yet, but I feel like tomorrow's the day. So if you miss the stream, you can still get rich by subscribing.
Do we have a total unit count, Lou? Do we have a record? What you're at so far this year?
No, we can get an intern on that. I think I'm probably around 500, which means I'm about to get
I know the Pickett's up. The Pickett looks good.
Pickett's green. Pickett's juicy. If I have any haters, just make sure to send them the screenshot of my Pickett.
Green is green. That's all you need.
All right, everybody. Have a great weekend. No unit shaming in the chat, and go Bears.
Let's go Giants.
Go Rutgers.
Go
Yes.
Rutgers.
Yes.
We're all on the Scarlet
Yes.
Knights.
It's our
We're
year.
going to college game day in Piscataway.
Oh, please come. I'll be there. I will be there.
We may have to host our own.
College game day, Rutgers style by DubClub. I'm in.
Yeah. Road show. Add a new row to the back of the T-shirt.
I like that shirt.
Thank you. All right. See you, everybody.
See you guys.